Afghanistan was on President Biden's mind today during an audience at the White House. He met with the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. The Emir is now the first Gulf leader to meet with Joe Biden as president. They talked about a number of things, including a promise to make Qatar a major non-NATO ally. But here's what Mr. Biden said about Afghanistan.
This past year, our partnership with Qatar has been central to many of our most vital interests. Relocating tens of thousands of Afghans, maintaining stability in Gaza, and providing life-saving assistance to the Palestinians, keeping pressure on ISIS, and deterring threats across the Middle East, and a lot more.
Did you catch it? Qatar has helped with relocating Afghan refugees, and that continues to this day. It's been nearly 6 months since the U.S. military left Afghanistan, and since then we've watched the Afghan government collapse in real time. Afghans have desperately tried to leave the country. Tens of thousands have succeeded. About 76,000 Afghans have been brought to the U.S. since last summer. Most of them have moved into communities across the country. About 10,000 remain on military bases waiting for permanent homes. Another 2,500 are on U.S. bases abroad, including in Qatar. However, some need what's called a special immigrant visa. Those cover people like Afghan interpreters who risk their lives working for the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal, about 60,000 of them, 60,000, are still in Afghanistan. The SIV program was set up more than a decade ago to take care of those who took care of American service members. Is it working the way it was intended to? Let's ask someone who helped design the special immigrant visa program. Tom Warrick was a senior official in the State and Homeland Security departments during the Bush, Obama, and Trump administrations. Today, he's the director of the Future of the DHS project at the Atlantic Council. Mr. Warrick, welcome to the program.
Good evening, Joshua. Great to be here.
So let's start with that first question. How well or poorly is the SIV program working based on the way it was intended to work?
Well, so the number of people that we're bringing out of Afghanistan was larger and all at once compared with what we thought we were setting this up for almost a decade ago. The real challenge is that it's limited by how many people are checking applications. And this requires U.S. government officials, people in the military, to try to track down the history of some of these folks. Most of the people who apply for the program have clean records and they can be admitted without any problems. But there's a significant number that have what would be considered derogatory information. And what we've seen so far out of the statistics that DHS released, only about 88 people turned out to be really problematic. That's about 1 in 1,000. But there is a large number of people who need to be checked out. And you need to find out whether, for example, if they called a phone number in 2009 that's now found to be a Taliban leader, did the same person have that telephone in 2009? Or was it in fact that a U.S. Army officer directed the translator to try to see if they could broker a local truce or something like that? So there could be totally legitimate explanations.
That sounds like a tremendous amount of detective work, just one of the really complex ways in which a complex program like this has to operate. Let's talk about the other aspects of this SIV program. You wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post back in September. You wrote, "I helped design the SIV program. It needs an urgent update if we want to help Afghan refugees," or at least that was the headline of the article. Give me a sense of what that update might look like. It sounds like, at least in part, staffing is a big part of the update.
Yeah, so you need resources. You need people to be assigned to this project. And exactly as you say, Joshua, this is basic investigative work. It's not sexy or exciting, but it's got to be done to redeem American honor. The other problem we had was that when we set up the refugee program, being recognized as a refugee gets you an entire package of assistance programs. Someone will teach you English, someone will help you get a job, someone will help you learn how to live in an American city. When you let people in by what's called humanitarian parole, like many of these Afghans were, none of those benefits are automatic. And so Congress needs to do something like pass the Afghan Adjustment Act that would provide the kind of basic resources and permanent legal status that the country really owes these people who've risked their lives to work with the American military and journalists and aid organizations. So this is why many of us think American honor is on the line. We need to find a way of welcoming these people and taking care of them now that they're here.
I hear you in terms of restoring American honor by doing this program right. I wonder what you think about doing that through the SIV program or applying for humanitarian parole, which the Biden administration has encouraged some folks to do. Is one a better option than the other?
Well, humanitarian parole is really only a temporary status. This is a way that the law says that the government can decide, we'll let you in, but you're on your own. The special immigrant visa program came with the kind of benefits package that a refugee status gave, and it allowed for someone to have the resources to tide them over until they can get a job and become productive members of American society. We've done this in the past with other programs. We did this with people we took out of Vietnam in the 1970s, out of Iraq in the 1990s. So we know how to set these programs up. It just needs Congress to take a bipartisan step towards giving these people the kind of help that they're going to need. And experience teaches us that these people will end up becoming very valuable members of American society.
How much hope do you have for the SIV program now? You said that Congress needs to pass some legislation to move this along. We know how fast Congress moves these days, so I'm not sure if you're more optimistic or pessimistic about this program.
Well, the basics of the program have always enjoyed bipartisan support. People who really understand the importance of how our military works support this. People who understand how aid organizations work. There's a bipartisan understanding that this is something that we need to do. So this is one reason why Congress appropriated more than $7 billion in what I would consider record time this fall, so that the people came out starting in August, and by November, we had an appropriation that allowed money to resettle a lot of the people. I think we need to finish the job. And I think that means clearing up these visa backlogs. I think it means setting up the programs to integrate these people into American society. And so I'm actually optimistic that this is one of those things that Congress will get around to doing. It's just something that needs to have priority both from the Congress and from the administration, and one that's driven by the American people who understand the values that are at stake here.
Mr. Tom Warrick of the Atlantic Council, I appreciate you making time tonight, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joshua. Great to be here.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.